Yeah, man. Hey, so, real quick. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Well, That's a Big Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Hilton. And today we got a really special guest on today. He's done such cool things within Arkansas, and you'll hear more about him in the podcast. I don't want to spoil it, but Corey Jackson, man, how's it going, brother?
What's up, Ian? Man, I'm good.
Cool.
I'm in Tulsa. My wife is she's on her audition rotations in medical school.
Okay.
And,
what does that mean?
This is like where she is going around and she is getting to experience. She's wanting to do surgery,
wow.
she is getting to kind of jump right in with the residents and the doctors at different programs around the state, or I guess around the United States. And this is like her first away rotation.
Yeah.
And she's in her last week here, and I got to come out here and spend some time with her. It's been 3 weeks since I've seen her. So,
wow. So she's studying out in Oklahoma.
Yes,
wow.
As of right now, she is, and then she'll be in Memphis next.
In Memphis?
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. How long is her degree?
So she's in the NYT program at A-State.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's in her year 4 right now. So she'll graduate in May of this coming year, and then she will go into residency, and that will be like at least 5 years.
Okay.
So
yeah.
We still got a while of school left, but it's going great. She loves it.
Well, man, with anything with medical, man, you'd have to have like the utmost patience with earning your degree and like waiting and just it's going to be a long process when you enter that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I give the utmost like appreciation for people like that yeah. have the patience and have the time and have the endurance to do all that. Like that blows my mind. I take one class at ASU and I'm like pulling my hair out.
I feel like that's how I am.
Yeah. I'm like it's like biology. So it's like like all these chromosomes, and I'm like, chromosomes, like what? Like okay, cool. And then they have like biochromosomes and chromosomes. I'm like,
yeah, it's like
I'm in school for creative media. Like, why do I need to learn? I said this before on the podcast. Like, why do I need to learn a biology when I'm going to school and my career is based off of creative media? Why the heck do I need to just study biology?
I felt that, man.
It's just like it's like doing high school over again. But the last class I had with biology, my professor, my high school, I can remember like a little bit about my high school biology class, and like it was really kind of dumbed down a little bit just because we're high schoolers and stuff like that, and our brain hasn't fully developed yet. But my last professor with ASU with biology was like, yeah, I had to get critiqued by like 7 biology or scientists to review my packet on to do a study on a certain subject, and had to be reviewed 7 times in order to be considered something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was. But I'm like,
maybe like for their PhD or something like that.
I don't know, but I think to be a biologist, like you have to be critiqued by a certain amount of scientists or biologists, whatever you call them, and you have to take that criticism, not criticism, but the like good criticism, and change your work, not work ethic, but change your, what the heck am I trying to talk about here? How you discovered your project, you had to reconsider how you did it.
Okay.
And and so I'm like, why are you teaching here? Why are you here? Just do that, because this class is hard. Maybe it's just me, but I'm like you're talking about like 18 different chromosomes and stuff like that. I'm like, it's so hard. It's so hard. Anyways, but I want to talk about you, not me.
Well, are you still in that class?
No, I'm not.
Right
no, that was one of my past classes. Yeah,
I got you. I was gonna wish you good luck on that.
Oh, dude, I grew gray hair from that class.
Well, I'm getting that too, so I don't know what it's from. But
How old are you, Corey?
27.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, dude. So I want to mention something, man. The first time I met you, you were super quiet, and you were such a humble guy, and you just one of those kind of people that just like to sit back and listen to a conversation, to kind of understand where. Because I didn't know you until I met Mike Stinnett, who is a great guy, love him to death. And until like I met you at the coffee shop, and I was like, I'm over here talking about a hurricane, a blizzard, and you're just like, wow, yeah, that's great. And I'm like, I'm 15 minutes in, I'm like, so what do you do?
No, I didn't feel like it was like that at all, man. Honestly, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't leave. Maybe I'm interrupting.
No.
Their time together.
I just talk a lot.
I've always been a pretty shy person, especially when I was growing up. I never wanted to be the center of attention. I did not like that.
Really?
I didn't even want to read in class. Reading in class was very embarrassing to me. I was always a very slow reader, still am, but I've always struggled with that. But I kind of found my out, and I guess you would say my niche, or niche, whatever, to kind of open up through music. And I fell in love with music. There's a long story, I guess, with that. But when I found music, when I was in 11th grade, it just took me a little while to kind of find what I really loved. And when I found that, man, it really kind of changed my whole life.
Yeah, it did. So that's the thing too. It was so crazy. So going back to when I met you in the coffee shop, Mike was kind of talking for you, and it was like, yeah, he's on iTunes. He's won. What was it? The Voice. I was on that. Yeah. We'll get into that. Trust me, we'll get into that. But what was the Arkansas thing? Number one best.
Oh yes, I won. So this year, I, thanks to all my fans out there, my video won Video of the Year for the Arkansas Country.
Wow! So was that a music video?
Yes.
Wow.
It was my buddy Kenny Jackson from Jonesboro. He shot it, and the song is "Put Some Country in Your Country." It's a song that I released last year, and it ended up winning this year's Arkansas Country Music Awards for Video of the Year.
So how does that happen? Like, how do you just submit it onto their platform and they judge?
So in January, so at the very beginning of the year, they have where anyone that is like from Arkansas, people can start vote, or not voting, but like submitting their information for like, hey, they should be nominated for this. Well, the more nominations you get, that's like kind of counts as like points, but then they also have a team of people that submit as well, and that counts for so many points. Well, then I think it's always in March. They do the top 5, like who's made the top 5, and then that's voted on by fans, and then in June, it's always the first Monday in June, they have the award ceremony, and that's when the winners are announced of the top 5.
Okay. And you were announced.
And I was announced, yeah, and it was in June, first Monday in June. I can't remember the date. It might have been the 6th. Yeah.
That's crazy. So, how'd you feel after you got announced?
Man, I went when I went, I was not expecting to win. Things have just been a little crazy over the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was so thankful to have shot the video. I thought it was one of the best videos I've ever put out.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of it, but I was just like, I don't think I'm going to win. I don't think I'm going to win this category, but I'm honored to be in the nominations, So I was just going, and when they called my name, I was just like, are they sure? Are they sure?
Yeah. But you know,
I was really honored. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but I think that's like the best feeling or the best what's the word? Feeling to go into it. To like you're not knowing, like you don't think that you're the best, but you're like maybe I'll end up the best 75. But then, you know, you have that mentality going in. But as soon as you got announced that you're one of the top 5, you're like you said, what did I do? Like, how? Why?
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, how? Why? And the worst thing is they'll never tell you why, and you'll never figure out why. And that's what bothers me too. Is because like when I get something kind of minor big, like I'm like, really? Like, huh? You know, like, are you sure? You know? And it's like it's one of those feelings like to where it's you just can't explain it. Like just like, but I like that feeling because it makes you humble. Makes you very, very humble.
I tell you, man, it was a very humbling thing to win. You know, I just after this, just everything that's went on over the past few years, you know, you kind of wonder sometimes. It's like, well, am I doing what I should be doing? And it's kind of like a reassuring thing. It's like, oh, okay, you know, maybe I'm in the right direction. And so, anyway, I just a big thank you to all my fans out there for that. It really meant a lot.
So, how do you, like, honestly, let's go back for a little bit. How did you figure out that you had fans?
How did I figure out I had fans?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. You know, I started my first band back in, I think it was 2014. And I started playing, honestly, it was like little restaurant shows and like backyard shows for friends. And then I started playing festivals not too long after that. You know, thanks to the people that I was working with at the time, they got me in. And I guess it's kind of funny to think about it, but you know, I would set up like a merch thing, and I would have people come out, you know, they would want my autograph. And I would have never thought, gosh, I mean, before that, I never even expected to be doing this type of thing. So back in like 2013, this was not even really on my radar. And, but when I started having people asking for my autograph and stuff, I guess that's when I knew. I don't know.
Right. And like, so, do you remember like the first time you got like an autograph, and you were like, "Really? Were you feeling the same way when you won the video award when you got your first autograph?"
Yeah, I think that was a very humbling thing. I don't know if I remember exactly who the first one is, but I would think that it was. I think it was a family friend. And her name's Lisa. She might have been the first one that asked, and I got to sign her boot, which was pretty cool. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, it's fitting.
It is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, dude. Hey, I'm telling you that. Yeah, the first time I met you, man, I was like trying to figure you out. At the same time, I was like, why is it being so quiet? You know, because I'm always around people. I like being around. Well, no, I don't like being around. I'm always around people that kind of talk. Like I like talking a lot. It's kind of annoying to some people, and it's kind of cool in some aspect because it keeps the conversation going. It strikes conversation. It strikes like new information. Like when I talk to you, you're like, yeah, I do this and do that, and then like immediately I went to iTunes. I looked up looked up Corey Jackson. I was like, oh, okay, right on. So you're that guy, in a good way. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, you know. So I've always respected that 100% of you, man. And yeah, definitely. And you know, when we saw you at Compass at the church in downtown Turnsboro, excuse me. Dude, you have such a good voice. You really do.
Thanks.
You really do. And I enjoyed that you brought up music from my childhood into my early teenage years. Like, you were singing Matt Redman, the time we were there, and like all the songs that like I grew up with. So I was like, okay, so he knows my generation. He knows that like these are the most these singers are started the 90s.
Yeah.
90s music. They started the Michael W. Smith, Matt Redman, all of them. Like they all they all made it, and they were the best musicians out there. I mean, I'm not knocking all the other musicians that didn't really kind of make it out there, but they were the ones that started a certain genre. But no, what I'm trying to get at is, when did you know you had a voice? Like, when you were singing and playing guitar, when did you know that you were like, you had the confidence to be like, okay, I think that I'm that good to go up and perform in front of people?
Yeah, I remember the very first time that I actually got up on stage, and man, I was so nervous, sweating profusely, I'm sure, because that's what I do when I get nervous. My hands get all sweaty, and it was at a karaoke event, and it was a fundraiser, is what it was. When I was in high school, I had some friends of mine on prom night get into a really bad accident, and two of them passed away.
Oh no.
And we did this karaoke event to help raise money for a scholarship that would be in their name. And my cousin Audrey, she has always been just really outgoing and enthusiastic, and she was like, Corey, you gotta get up here and sing a song. Come on, you gotta do it. I know you want to. And I just remember being so nervous, but I got up there and I did it. And I did this song Penny Lover by Lionel Richie. I went through this phase where I loved Lionel Richie.
Really?
I still do. But I would just listen to his album over and over and over again. But from that, it was kind of during that time, my grandpa, he had just retired from the heating and air business.
He retired from what?
Guitar, the heating and air business.
What is it?
Heating and air.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
And he, no, you're good. He was playing guitar at home, and he had encouraged me. He's like, Corey, I'd really like for you to play with me. So I was like, well, Grandpa, if you'll help me pick out my first guitar, I will. And man, it was like he helped me pick it out, and I went home, and that was like the only thing I did after school.
Yeah.
And I just loved it so much. And it was a few years later, or actually no, before that, I was in student council, real heavily involved in student council when I was in high school. And our student council advisor, he was like, Corey, you're playing guitar, and you're going to be in the talent show we have coming up. And I was like, whoa. I was like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, you're doing it. So I remember doing it, and it was probably one of the worst I've ever done. I remember being so nervous, but I got up there, man, everybody was just so encouraging, and they're like, man, that was so great.
Yeah.
And then it moved on from that. My parents, they encouraged me to try out for the talent show in the Northeast Arkansas District Fair.
Yeah.
And I did that.
Where's that at?
So that would be in Jonesboro.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I went, I submitted all my stuff, got into the competition. I didn't win anything, but there was a guy that came up to my dad afterwards, and he was like, hey, that kid just needs a better guitar. And he just needs to keep going. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay, so we literally, my dad was like, we're going to get you a better guitar. We went to like Memphis and looked at guitar shops. We ended up settling at Backbeat, and I got a Taylor, and it's a 314 CE series, and I still play that Taylor today.
It's so funny that one person changed your whole world.
Yeah, like when I went to do the talent show, I had no intention to do anything else after that, and it was just like from there on, I just never put it down and never stopped, and I loved it. So.
Yeah. So that's the thing, man. I totally agree with you because I started drumming at 8 years old. My dad noticed. Yeah, my dad noticed that I was like kind of, it was really cavemanish, but I was like beating on my chest, and like I was doing this a lot. It's really weird, really weird. And he's like, "Why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Well, I hear music in my head that I really like, and then I'm like, I'd like to play along with it, and maybe to whatever, I can play along with it." And so he was like, "Okay." And then one night, it was during Christmas or close to Christmas. My dad was setting up the Christmas tree, and my dad loved like 90s. He loves country, period, right?
Yeah.
And so I got into 90s country, which we talked about at the coffee shop. And my dad he put on a Brooks and Dunn album, and it was the one that had the what song was that? I saw the light and yeah, that one. And I got
like that song.
I do too. I love it. And so I got on the piano. My parents bought us a piano, like an actual, like, I don't know, it wasn't like a grand piano, but it was just like a home piano, had the wood, it had the keys, it had strings behind it, and I heard that song and I was like, ooh, I like that. And I started playing like harmonics to it, and my dad was like, what are you doing? And so I'm like 8 or 9 years old or whatever, or 10, whatever, and I'm like just kind of playing, like, ooh, that sounds good. And I'm like doing this like a DJ on a piano. And so he was like, and I stopped, and he was like, he stopped, he was like, why'd you stop? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, keep going. And I was like, okay. And so I kept playing, and then eventually it just got into where I started playing drums. And I became a percussionist with drumming. I guess apparently I have like a natural state. I just said because we're in Arkansas. I have a natural talent for percussion, and so I had a drummer in our church in Orlando that Pete Crisculo. I can't remember what his name was. Chris though, or no, Pete. Pete was his name, and I loved the style of his drumming. I loved it. Every time in church, he would play something. I was like, damn, that sounds really good. That sounds really good. And I went up to him and was like, hey, can you give me drumming lessons? He's like, no. He kind of brushed it off at first and was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I'm like 30-something years old. You're 8 or 9 years old. Kind of weird. And I was like, okay, cool. So one time he went in the back of the church, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I go on your drum set and just kind of play around a little bit? He's like, yeah, just don't break anything or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go on it and I start playing like do do ta do 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 ta do 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 ta do, and he comes out and he's like, did you originally know how to play drums? I was like, no. And he goes, I think I'm going to teach you, And so it was the craziest thing, man. But because
that's so cool.
Anyways, yeah. So that's my story with that. And since then, my parents bought me my first drum set. It was a Ludwig. I don't know if you ever heard of that company before. Yeah,
I have.
Really old drum set, man. The bass drum was so heavy. Like at 8 years old, and break my back. Like I can't move this around too much.
Oh, there's too many parts to the drums, man.
Yeah. No, there wasn't hardly any parts of this drum. It was just heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah. And I started playing. My parents were like, "Where did you learn this?" I was like, "I don't know. I just started playing." And so, it was great. I love playing the drums.
That's so cool, man. I wish I could play drums. I mean, I've never sat down to really truly try, I guess, but I have problems with the feet.
It's so weird though. It's so weird though, because when I look at you when you play guitar, I can riff a little bit, like I can just do like do 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 like on the guitar, but when you're playing, it's like you have to simultaneously know the chords, the strings, and stuff like that. You're all up and down the frets and stuff, and I'm like, that blows my mind. But like when you say you have a problem with your hand and foot coordination, I'm like, nah. You know?
Yeah, that is funny, man.
I just wish that I could sing. That was like my biggest thing. Always wanted to sing and play guitar and just have the most like robust voice, but like a very robust voice that would just project, you know? But that was always my dream.
It's kind of funny how I've fallen into singing. I used to sing in the shower all the time when I was growing up, but I would try to sing Maroon 5. Like, I loved
Maroon 5, yeah.
And, which was kind of funny. I'm sure my parents were like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah.
But I just became so determined back in 2000. It was like 13, 14. I wanted to learn how to sing right. And I took lessons literally from like 3 to 4 different people, kind of all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to figure out what is going to work for me. You know, I'm gathering in all of these different techniques, but what works for me. And man, I learned so much from each person, and even I was in the classical world at A-State, and so I learned from multiple people and going from all the different events that they had, and having like some of the I forget what they call it, but they were like kind of like teachers that came in and they'd be like, okay, well, this is kind of our process, try this. And I was just so determined, and it felt like it took forever, but it kind of did. I mean, it took me about 7 to 8 years to really kind of be like, okay, I can go play 3-4 hour show and I can still sing after that, be fine.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I wanted to do it so bad.
I'm sure, dude. So did you ever struggle with like if you like singing too much to where like you got a tickle in your throat to where you couldn't perform, or you still did?
I don't really as much anymore. I try to really keep up with my vocal exercises.
Good.
And just, I'm constantly singing anyway.
Yeah.
So it's made a big difference. But like having all the training that I've had with it really helped me to learn how to breathe from my diaphragm. But I was also taking the techniques, not only just doing it in the practice room, I was taking it out and practicing it live in front of people, because it's just different, you know. You get nervous when you get in front of people, and that can change your whole breathing pattern. I still kind of have issues with that. Sometimes I'll even tell Sarah, or if my parents are with me and if I'm at a show, if I'm a little nervous, I'm like, man, I just can't get my breathing right. And when I'm saying that, I'm just like, I'm having trouble getting that really good deep breath from my diaphragm.
Right.
And just nerves, man. I mean, but
no, I
but I've definitely, I guess to answer your question, I've definitely had the tickle in my throat. Like, before I've really honed this technique and stuff in to sing properly, man, I did a 5-hour show one night, and I told
5-hour show?
Yeah. I told the band guys, I said, never doing that again, because literally the next day I was hoarse, couldn't really, I mean, it took me a few days to recover from that.
Wow.
And it's just, you got to be so careful with your voice. I mean, it's your instrument, and it's so easy to wear it out if you're not doing it properly.
I'm sure.
You get vocal nodules, and that can just cause a lot of issues.
Do you have like a do you have like a remedy that helps, say if you have a show the next day and you're in the your throat's kind of hoarse a little bit, and you are performing the next day, but your throat's hoarse. But do you have like a remedy? Like lemon water or whatever.
I've done that. I've done the lemon water.
Yeah.
Lemon and honey water. I've done that. I know there's a lot of things out on the market. I've seen people have like these certain kind of like almost like cough drops that will coat the throat. But I'll be honest with you, man. I honestly haven't used a whole lot of things. But I've seen a lot of people use just different sprays, different types of teas, with especially adding lemon or honey, even to just hot water.
Yeah. Like salt water, hot water, whatever it is, or room temperature water. Yeah. So let's go into The Voice. You were on The Voice. When you were on The Voice?
Let's see. That was the fall of 2019.
2019. Okay. So right before COVID hit.
Right before it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm talking about nervous. So how's the process of even starting to get into performing in front of the judges before you get into The Voice?
Can you say that one more time? What was my process?
Yeah, so what's the process of getting into The Voice before like getting to the big judges?
Yeah, so man, it was a long process. So nothing was shown until September, and I started that process in February of 2019. So I went through the open call auditions, or it's almost like a cattle call. There's tons of people. You're standing in line. I was in Nashville to do that, and there was different rounds that I had to go through all the way till like the last week of June.
How many rounds do you think?
So I went through, if you include what I did in Nashville, there was 2 in Nashville.
Yeah.
There was 1 in LA. So I went out there for like 3 days, and I did another audition. And then I went.
And you're traveling at your own expense.
No, well, okay, Nashville I did, but when they asked me to come to LA, that they provided the flight, gave me like a compensation for my food. So all it cost me was to get to the airport.
Wow.
And then I feel like there was one more. There was something in between there, I feel like. But then I went to LA for the month. So the entire month of June, I was in LA. Mm-hmm. And I was also about to get married during the process. Me and my wife were getting married at the end of that month. Mm-hmm. And so it was a pretty crazy time. And it was hard to be away from home. But so throughout the entire month of June, people were getting cut left and right.
Yeah.
So you were kind of on edge, like, am I going to be next?
It's like World War II.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. And but man, I feel so fortunate and blessed just to. I never expected to even get that far, just to LA. I had done like some stuff with American Idol a few years ago, but never made it.
Hold on.
Where you're in front
so
of the judges.
Before The Voice, you tried American Idol?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to meet with the judges. So for American Idol, I got to meet Keith Urban, Harry Connick Jr., and J-Lo.
J-Lo, yeah.
So I didn't get to try out in front of them. But
your music sucks. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Oh, that's funny. So that was just like really cool to meet him.
Yeah.
But throughout this whole process, it was really the encouragement of my family.
Yeah.
That I even went to do it, and when I finally made it to where they called my name and they're like, okay, you're gonna be, I think I was on a Monday or Tuesday to do the audition. We had already been like prepping for this time the whole month. We had done band rehearsals, wardrobe, stage rehearsals, you know, just like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had been on the stage before, and I saw the chairs. They were empty when I practiced. But when you get up there and the lights are down and the chairs were turned, I don't even know. It may be on the recording that's on YouTube, but I know when they showed it live, I was like, just trying to let all of the nerves and the feel of stress out and just do it. But it was a fun process, man. I enjoyed every moment of it. My vocal coach that I had during the process was just phenomenal. She was so amazing. She was hard. She was very hard.
Yeah. But, was that provided through The Voice?
It was. They had
crazy.
4 or 5 on staff for that first round.
Right.
And so, man, I just loved every minute of it. I met people that I still stay in contact with today. Mary Beth Bird was on there, and we lived, you know, really close to each other, and so I get to play shows with her.
That's cool,
man. It's just it was such a great experience for me. I encourage anybody that is interested or wants to pursue music, go do it. No matter how far you make it, it's really about the experience, and the more you're getting in front of people, the more comfortable you're going to get.
Exactly. So. And the people that you meet too are like new contacts.
It is.
It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, you tried out. That's great. If you didn't win it, cool. Like, I still know you. I still know this person that has another potential to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because like some people that I've met through there, I've played shows with them in Oklahoma. I mean, you know, so it's just, there's just, you know, those little connections that can get you somewhere to get you somewhere else. So
exactly. Cool. Yep. That's how the road is, man. That's how it is. Like, you just, the connections that you know, you want to keep them close.
You do.
You want to keep them close, and then you want to figure out if they have the same interests as you do. You know? I learned that with podcasting too. I've asked a lot of people, like, hey, would you mind doing this? And they're like, I hate cameras. I don't want to do this. I've said this before on the podcast. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable in front of this. But that's okay. Do you want to do like an over the phone interview? And they're like, is my face gonna be on it? I'm like, you're on. Just no, you're not gonna be on that. So it's like, yeah, but your voice is gonna be on. They're like, oh, nope, not doing it. You know. Yeah. And so, but you know, and I met people that have. They're like, yeah, I'm into the same thing. I want to be on it. Like, I had a friend that was shocked I didn't ask him in the first place to come on the show, you know. And I was like, buddy, like, I'm just doing this for fun. Like, this is my hobby. This is my business. Like, I'm not making money off this. This is purely just something that I want to do. I'm not looking to make any money off this. Like, this is not intentional. I love interviewing people, like, putting it out there on social media, like the people when they like my stuff and they find it interesting. That's my all-time high, is when people like the material that I'm putting out there. You know, it may be crappy, but that's okay. I'm still learning. But yeah, dude, I just, like, it's just so fascinating that I can relate to you with this. Like, when I first started talking about this podcast, and I'm pretty sure that this time at YouTube, people are going to be closing this video.
Oh, no.
1,000 times. No, but I started this talking about PTSD, because I was in the Army for 7 years. And I was like, hey, this is how you don't ignore this. You want to keep going, like getting help and stuff like that. And I talked about my experience with PTSD. And I don't really even want to talk about PTSD. I want to, like, kind of go more in depth. Like, I guess I'm labeled PTSD, but it's more complicated than that. It's like I have stress, high stress, I have panic attacks, I have all that stuff like that. And, you know, I'll go into that later, but it's, where was he with that? It's more than that. And so I talked about that on my very first couple episodes, maybe like the first or 7 episodes on my podcast that I called it "Well That Sucked" podcast instead of "Well That's Something." And like now, like I noticed that it kind of more mature, kind of like it's kind of more juvenile. So I called it "Well That's Something." But back then, I wanted to talk a bit more about like how to handle your PTSD. I want to talk about more of like my experiences, to that way I can relate to other people and to see that like, hey, they're not alone. They like I feel the same way you do, and like don't feel ashamed that if you feel these ways, and like go get help. It's not a bad thing to go get help, you know.
Right.
So
man, that's important.
Yeah, and so that kind of just I got to a point to where I was like, I like talking about my experiences, but it's only for so long, right? And then I stopped talking about that, and I was like, oh, I want to interview like business owners and to see, because I want to start my own business. And I was like, ooh, how'd you get your idea? How's it going now? And like what interesting ideas did you have when you first started, or like now, like where you're at now with your small business? And so now it's like it's right here, talking with you.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
I think that's awesome that, you know, when we're vulnerable, it's hard to be vulnerable.
It is.
You don't realize how many people you can help.
Oh, yeah.
So, dude, that's so awesome that you did that. And, man, I feel the same way as you. It's so cool when we can invite people in, and it's like, even if it's something we're interested in, we're like, man, I want to learn about that. How did you do that?
Yeah.
You know? So, no, that's cool. This is cool, man. I love what you're doing.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, man, well, thanks so much for coming on the show, for real.
Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, thanks for coming on and taking the time out of your day to be away from your wife to talk to this guy right here, you know? And
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. We'll have to do something again, for sure. Maybe next show you do, I'll bring my GoPro and do like a little behind the scenes action. How about that, huh?
We can do that.
Cool.
We can do that.
I'm down for that. I charge only food. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming on, and dude, we'll definitely talk soon, for sure.
Okay. Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
All right, brother.